So when I was 13, I got my mother's camera and I started taking pictures. I'm born in Stockholm, in Sweden, and then I moved to India for a couple of years, and then we lived in the south of Sweden on the countryside. And this is where I started taking pictures. I was a part of this amateur photo club. It was me and a lot of old men. And I was taking pictures of my sisters. And after a while they got tired of it and I had to start paying them. So I am educated at the school in Denmark, Copenhagen, called Fata Morgana. And then at the Nordic School of Photography outside Stockholm and the Royal Institute of Art. And to sum it up, there are three things that I learned from school. There are more, but there are three things that are very important to me. And to work hard, no excuses. To trust your instinct. To also that school is a very good place to experiment and to understand what you don't want it to take pictures of. I worked for a couple of years as a photojournalist and I worked for the biggest newspapers in Sweden. And I felt that I was getting far away from what attracted me to become a photographer in the first place. I'm actually not interested in cameras. I'm actually not very interested in taking pictures. That is not why I'm a photographer. It is more about canalizing a feeling and to feel. And sometimes I feel it's very hard to talk about pictures. I would rather play a song because music is a big inspiration for me when I work, and it also has the same kind of language. I think tunes are a better way to explain my pictures than words. For me, pictures come as much from within as they come from outside. And I work in the documentary field because I have to be able to see, to feel, to be able to create pictures. I don't come up with pictures by imagination. I don't work with fantasy, but I do sometimes work with memories. In the beginning, it was very important for me to be away from home, to dig into an environment really deeply, but also to dig into myself and understand what I wanted to do, what I wanted to work with as a photographer. And there is this point when you're very lonely, that you're far away from what's comfortable, and you get more naked and open to react to what's surrounding you. And for me, that was really a starting point in my practice. I would say, like, for me, the normal state is to walk around with your eyes like half open. But when I take pictures or when I'm looking for pictures, I open them vividly, open them up totally. And I see the world as a child would see the world, with curiosity and with intensity. And I become more vulnerable for what is around me. I can get really fascinated by a flower or something that would normally just pass. But I couldn't walk around with this state of mind all the time. I have to be able to turn it off. Otherwise, I think I'll probably become mad. So if I look at my work, I can see there's the things that are common is that I'm always drawn to skin and I'm always drawn to nature. And skin and nature that in some ways are abandoned, and I look at them at the same way. And when I select my pictures, I'm often drawn to the pictures that are quite mysterious, that there are things happening or have happened outside the picture. So the picture doesn't stop inside the frame, but it continues outside. So there's like this presence of an absence. So you can feel that there's something happening or have happened before. Um, and I work with analog, I work with film. I mostly work with my medium format camera, and why I work with film analog is because I like to not be in total control. That there are these surprise moments sometimes that make a picture vivid, because there's things, and it's not perfect. And I think pictures should not be perfect, because then they're not alive. Because life is not perfect. I like that I cannot see the pictures, and I especially like that the person I'm photographing cannot see the pictures. And how precious they are, because they're so expensive, so you only have this kind of amount of film, and it is what it is. So I went to Louisiana to investigate what I would call the macho culture. I had been looking at these shows, reality shows on TV about crocodile hunters in the swamps in Louisiana. And I was so fascinated how they were so close to danger, but how they didn't show any time that they were afraid. And I started to make some research about Louisiana, and I found out there was a lot of violence in Louisiana. They had like the highest murder rates at that time, and also that they were the state where most people were in prison. And so that's how it started. And I think that's usually how I work, is that I have like this theme, I have a question or an investigation, and then I end up trying to explain a mood or a state of mind. I see hurricane season as a metaphor. Um, it's when I travel around in Louisiana, I had this constant feeling of like a threat hanging over the people I was photographing, and it felt like hurricane season is this mental state about being between disasters. Um, it's silent now in the pictures. Everything is calm, but there's like this thing under the surface. There's a lot of insecurity, fear, and anger and frustration just lying there, waiting to bubble up. And what I heard is that if you're in the eye of the storm, because everything is very intense when you're in the storm, but when the eye of the storm comes over you, the wind stops, and the sun can come up, like the birds may even sing, and but there's this fear, or that soon the storm will come again, and it's a very scary feeling to be to live in between disasters. And for me, why I say this about you and me, it's because I can relate to that feeling, to being just in between. It can have similarity to be in an abusive relationship, or living with someone with a drug problem, or just in these times of corona. So in Louisiana, poverty and violence has to do with the long time of segregation, and also that racist opinions are inherited. I talked before about that there's so many. They have like this highest people in prison in Louisiana, and most of them are black people, and they are part of this profit system. So you could totally understand the frustration, and I could see this hurricane of Black Lives Matter movement coming because the system is so unfair. So photography can make one have really strong feelings. It can both on a personal level, but it can also start a chain reaction, and it can be start an activist movement. We've seen that in the past by single photos. For me personally, I don't think my photography is an activist. I don't see it as activism, but I do think about the choices I make. When I photograph, I never censorize. I take pictures of everything. But when I do my selection afterwards, I think a lot about not to show. It's very important for me because it's a strong point of view from my side, is that to show that we are more alike than we are different. And also, I think the biggest change you can make, maybe it's not taking picture, but it's actually meeting between people. You can make a change there. And I can tell you this story about when I was staying at an imperial wizard who was the head of Ku Klux Klan. And I was very surprised because before I went to Louisiana, I was really afraid that I was not going to like the people I was going to photograph, because that is such a big thing for me, to be able to feel a lot. I usually feel a lot for the people, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to take pictures if I didn't have that kind of emotional bond to them. So, but I was surprised because I stayed at this man's house, and we talked a lot. And we drank a lot of bourbon. That helped. And he told me about his struggles in life, and I got a bigger view on how he came to this point of what this direction is in his life. And he told me a lot of secrets. He told me that he used to listen to hip-hop music and black music when he was by himself, something that's not allowed in the clan. And so I went back to Sweden, and he added me on Facebook. He wanted to be a friend on Facebook. And I hesitated at first. I thought it was really weird to have a friend from Ku Klux Klan. But then I thought about maybe this is the point where two worlds would meet, and we could have discussions on Facebook, or we'll see what happens. But then he started to post in these really awful, racist things that was really horrible. So I wrote him a letter, and I said that I was so hurt by the things that he posted that I don't think we could be friends on Facebook anymore, because I couldn't take it. And he responded that he respected me so much that he wouldn't do it anymore. So he didn't. In Louisiana, I felt a lot of hurt, anger, and frustration from the caused by white people, and I was quite naive because walking around in different areas where a lot of black people, I didn't think that I was going to be looked at differently, because I'm not not a racist, and I share the views of the injustice. But my appearance was a reminder for some of them about the injustice that was caused by white people. So I had to work really hard. I had to push myself a lot, and I was warned not to go to certain areas. I was threatened a couple of times, and there was a lot of superstitions against me. And now, afterwards, I can understand how it came to this point and how my white skin, what it symbolizes. So I'm very close to the people I take pictures of, and I do coexist sometimes with people I never even met before. But I think time is crucial for me to be able to take a picture, because it doesn't have so much to do with how I want to take the pictures. It's more that I have to get to know the person to understand how I want to take a picture. And that's where the intimacy comes from, just spending a lot of time. And then I see, when I look at my different work, I do have different approaches, I would say, but there are some things that always attracts me. Like, I am very in love with small details, and like subtle searching movements, like a hand looking for another hand, or a leaf falling from a tree, or some very small, subtle things. That talks to me about someone's interior world more than the exterior. In hurricane season, I felt I wanted to take a step back. I felt I wanted their room to be their own, and I wanted the environment to be seen. I wanted to show their environment. I work with natural light. I relate a lot to painters like Vermeer, Hammershey, and Hopper. And there's something in those pictures that it looks beautiful, but there's something not right. Like this sense of a secret, like this waiting energy. Yeah, the silence of things that are not said.